do this to my Carrera GT.
I'm sure we can figure out a way.
Welcome to the episode of Jay Leno's Garage. Now for something completely different. We've done plenty of 911s on this show, but the first time we've done I guess an East African rally safari car. This is a 1985 Porsche Carrera 911. It didn't leave the factory this way. This car is the brainchild of Patrick Long. Now, Patrick Long, you probably know, won this class at Le Mans a bunch of times, professional factory race car driver. And he created this car. It was his idea. And then he sold it to another gentleman, which has an interesting story. Let's meet Patrick first. Patrick, come on in. How you doing, man?
Jay, good to see you.
You too, you too. Hey, nice job. This is this is something really different. It's a East African rally safari car. Did I get that right?
Yeah, it's inspired by the East African safari, but it was more of a idea over coffee with friends that got out of control.
Right. Yeah, that's the way it always happens. So, did you buy this car with the idea of doing this, or did you have the car ready and then after a few years decided to do what's the story?
Well, the story is we were planning our third Luftgekühlt show, which is an air-cooled Porsche show in California, and we wanted to have an interactive sort of audience following. So we said, let's do an auction, and then we're going to have to sell something, so let's build a car that's very Southern California and very Porsche, so why not a rally-inspired car? Well,
I think it's a great idea. Now, did you buy the car and then change it, or did you already own this car?
I owned this car. I found this car while racing on the East Coast. A gentleman, a friend of a friend had it, and he was sick of driving manual, and so I went and met him after a race, and the rest is history.
Wow. Was it white when you got it?
It is white. It's mostly original paint as is, so we tried to change the least amount that we had to.
And he was sick of driving a manual. That just seems weird for a Porsche guy.
Yeah, he told me that his wife wanted an SUV so they could go to dinner and not have to worry about shifting.
Always, you know, it's just so easy. Just get a divorce, keep the manual shift car. You know, I mean, yeah. Or, you know, have a meal sent over, really. You know. But anyway, his misfortune is your gain. So
that's right.
And how long did you have it before you started modifying it?
I had it tucked away in my hangar for about a year, and then this idea came up, and I thought, I don't really want to let this car go, but we were on a tight enough timeline that we needed to start with a really clean car. We didn't want to go through paint and motor resealing, so we wanted to start with something that had a really clean, fresh start.
And all the money from this went for pancreatic cancer research? Well, that's great. Well, thank you. That's really a terrific thing to do. So, you've got the car. Was there any point where you felt like you're in over your head, or this is getting crazy, or did it go pretty smoothly?
Well, I had good friends. Guys like Joey Seeley, Rod Emery, John Benton, they all came forward and said, this is for the right cause. We love Luftgekühlt. We love the idea of a rally car going around Southern California. To that point, there wasn't really one of these that we knew about. And so everybody stood up and put their best into it, and it came together pretty quick.
Now, if you don't know Rod Emery, he's of the three gentlemen mentioned, he's the one I know. He's been here many times. Here he is, if just to refresh your memory, one of the outlaw cars he did. And how long did the whole build take?
I would say start to finish about 4 months.
Oh, wow.
We documented everything. It was an aggressive timeline. We wanted it to debut at our show, which was April of 2016.
Right.
And with that, we had to document and let everybody into the build, and that's how we met Eli.
Now, did the engine remain stock? Have you modified the engine?
The engine is primarily stock. We put exhaust on it, and we did a limited slip. Tried to make it really reliable so that you could hammer it off-road all day long, but also daily drive it.
So it's approximately what, around 200 horsepower?
Yeah, stock 3.2, roughly 200 horsepower, but good throttle response, and can run it in all elements.
Now, obviously, you've raised the body up, it looks about 6 inches, 7 inches?
We have 9 inches of coilover suspension from KW and 10 inches of ground clearance. So the trick is you can be able to hit anything, including minivans.
I'm going to see, that doesn't move, does it?
It's stiff. It's definitely stiff. It's been a work in progress, but it's got to be able to have form and function.
And that's an incredible roll bar that you put in there.
Yeah, all handmade and completely fabricated, integrated into the shock towers. Again, this thing needs to not only look good, but survive a lot of beating.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen people beat up 911s lately, so it's kind of interesting. And this piece here really fascinated me. It almost looks like a factory piece, but It's not, is it? That's some aftermarket?
That is aftermarket. The idea when we were talking about is what could get ripped off when you're going through a tight single trail or a fire road. And so bringing everything in tight, underneath skid plates, big bumpers, protecting your assets and giving it sort of that.
So it's basically a 911 jockstrap, is what you're saying?
It's a 911 that'll do whatever you want it to do.
Wow. Now, is it heavier than a stock 911 now or lighter?
I would say we've added some weight to it. You know, with such things as the luggage rack, we have 2 spare tires.
This can't be good for center of gravity.
That's not a CG value point, no. But in the day, when we looked at how these cars really ran through safaris and you know, Dakar, they had to be able to survive without a chase crew for sometimes you know, hours on end. So you really need to be self-contained.
Did you take a lot of weight out of the car? I mean, did you rip out insulation and things of that nature, or just keep it?
My idea with this car is it was so clean that I wanted it to all be reversible. We didn't chop up any of the metal. We kept the interior as original as possible, original color codes.
Right.
Everything to the car has been retained, so one day it could go right back to a stock 3.2.
So basically we're talking, besides the lights, the roll bar, the push bar, the bumpers, mostly suspension modifications over everything else.
Yeah, rally-inspired wheel, Recaro seats that are adjustable, Wevo shifter. The guys at Pelican Parts had a lot of great distribution partners that stepped up and donated to the cause. And so we were able to really put a lot of product on the car that makes a lot of sense, but is all reversible.
Even kept the 5-mile-an-hour bumpers, but added the safety bar there.
Yep,
Yeah.
Rod and his team at Emery Motorsports, they did this all on CAD, engineered every bit of the bumpers, underneath skid plates, roll pans, mud flaps, you name it.
Pretty amazing. And now this roll bar, what does it connect to back here?
So it goes right into the strut towers, basically to add stiffness and to give extra support to the rear end of the car. As you know, rear engine car, so a lot of mass back here.
Right.
This was a car that we took out 30 days before it ever went to market to Tahone Ranch and put a guy named Jeff Swart behind the wheel who's got
Jeff,
plenty of rally experience, and he tore the thing up from day one. We wanted it to be race ready. So we looked at it as a motorsport project and sort of had our timeline, worked backwards and said we need to be running and operating 30 days out and try to find out if there's any weak links.
And that's your competition wheel? That's not Porsche, right?
No, we put the 2-bar wheel on it as sort of a throwback to rally inspiration. I think that it told a story of the period of 80s, and that was one of my little bits and bobs.
Can we open up the hood and see what the engine looks like? It's just,
Yeah.
as you said, it's basically just stock, huh? Wow, nice and clean. What's different? Am I missing anything?
No, we dropped the engine out of it, we resealed it, refinished the fan wheel, but again, this is a product that is so good, Motronic, electronically fuel injected. I wanted this car to be able to be something that the owner could drive daily to work and then head straight up to the canyons and run some fire roads.
Right. Very nice. Well, let's meet the owner, Eli Kogan. He's the one that bought the car from the charity. Eli, come on in. Good to see you.
Thanks for having us out today, Jay.
Yeah, did you know Patrick before you bought this?
I did. I knew Pat for quite some time before I bought the car, so I was lucky enough to see the car throughout the whole process.
Oh, okay. So did you know you were going to buy it as he was building it, or
No.
did you wait till the auction?
I actually had no idea until about 30 minutes before the auction we registered to bid. So
Really?
Spur of the moment, kind of a labor of love decision, and couldn't let it go.
Single guy, are you?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, married guys don't make decisions 30 seconds, 30 minutes before the auction. They go, honey, that's very funny. That's very funny. So what happened? Did you see other people bidding on it and you got jealous? Oh, that's my own. What happened?
You know, I bid on it with my family, and we kind of set a hard limit to where we were willing to go, and
then
the
you
auction
went past it.
quickly eclipsed that limit,
Yeah.
and couldn't let it go. We jumped back in, and it was one other guy and us at the end, and it was kind of a fight for it.
Oh, very good. Now, have you modified it at all? Is it exactly as it was? when
No,
you
I
bought it?
haven't modified it at all. Just regular service. I've put about 4,000 miles on it since I bought it.
You happy with the purchase?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's addicting.
And it's for a good cause.
Yes. No, that was part of the great part about the auction was all the proceeds went to charity.
Now, do you think Patrick's feeling any guilt pangs? Oh man, it's just, it's like guy marrying your ex-wife. How's my car?
Yeah, a little bit.
He gives me a chance to jump back into it once in a while, so that's always a perk in that scenario.
Well, you guys said all the modifications were underneath in the suspension, and in the shocks and the way the roll bar. Can we put it up on the lift and take a look?
Yeah, definitely.
Come on, let's take it next door and we'll see what they're talking about. Well, we got it up on our Sterile Coney lift. These are cool, aren't they?
I like it. Freestanding.
And here's our skid pan under here. You can see the amount of protection.
Yeah, it saved me a few times here, you can see.
It's so nice to have a supercar that isn't so low to the ground you can't drive it in normal roads. Because in LA, you just, this is the land of the broken spoiler. You know, I just see a diffuser or whatever it is. I just see pieces all over the Coldwater Canyon, just broken pieces of front ends and everything. Whereas this thing is so nice and high off the ground. And boy, this really is protection here, isn't it? It goes the whole length of the car, pretty much. Well, and you have your floor here, and then you got one in front.
And that's the fun part about the car, Jay, is normally when you're sitting in a 911 and you see a big dip in the road, you get pretty scared, but in this, you just add more gas and jump over it.
Hilarious.
Yeah, you can sort of pretend you're a kid on your BMX bike. You see a curb, you can just launch it.
I'm gonna say. And that's a pretty thick piece of aluminum there, isn't it?
Yeah, Rod and his guys have had some experience wrecking 911s around Portland, Oregon, so he had a lot to give to us on the practical side.
Now, does Rod Emery, if guys want to do this to their own Porsches, can they buy these pieces? Well, you could cut this on a water jet or something, and it's pretty straightforward, isn't it? There's nothing especially tricky here. Show us the, can we see the shocks and how the roll cage connects? No, you really can't, can you?
That's kind of more through the engine bay, but down here you do get to see all 9 inches of the suspension travel.
Right.
You can see through the back here, it's a triple adjustable KW that was hand done for this car. We wanted everything to match from the damping and the spring side of things.
And actually the valving of these shocks is matched to the old Rothmans SCRS cars that used to race.
And you got these little...
Yeah, the mud flaps with the tether, again, just
I like the tether.
little detail.
Just, kind of, just like, all right, it's all right, all right, it's all right. Well, nicely done. Cool. Well, let's take a ride and see how all this works. Since we only got room for one, Eli, you own the thing.
Cool.
Patrick, thank you, my friend.
I'm out.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Eli, let's take this thing for a spin.
Let's do it.
See what kind of job Patrick did. Plus, we can talk about him while he's not here. You know, Porsches always feel a lot faster than the horsepower tells you it is.
Yep.
You know, and any other car, 200 horsepower would be, you know, just snore. But, you know, just so light and...
Especially when you get it on the dirt, too. It really wakes up with the 200 horsepower.
Shifts very nicely.
Yeah, they went through the trans at the time of the build and, you know, took all the rubber out of everything, went through and put the Wevo shifter in. So it's very direct and it's a great setup.
Ride badly, doesn't ride harshly.
No, not at all. And you know, it's great in the dirt, and it's also great at 80 miles an hour on the freeway.
Can you feel this this wheel on the roof? I mean, when you go into a corner, can you feel it?
You don't.
The CG.
Yeah, you feel it a little bit. So when I take it up in the mountains, I take the tire off the roof because it comes with another full spare in the trunk.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yep.
Tires must last a lot longer in the dirt, though, don't they?
They do. Yep. Yeah. When you get into some rocky terrain, it chews them up pretty quickly, but on just soft dirt, they last forever.
What oil do you run in an air-cooled like this? You run a thinner oil?
We run, I think it's Torco SR3 in here.
Because, you know, I've got early air-cooled, like Franklin's.
Right.
By early, I mean 1915. And they run an oil that's so thin, it's almost like water, but a thick oil would retain too much heat and it wouldn't cool off.
It's one of those cars you can't help but smile when you drive it. You see a patch of dirt and you just dart off and grab the handbrake.
It's amazing how long Porsche stayed with the air-cooled theme, you know?
All the way up until 98.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable.
And
it's vintage cars. They're fabulous because there's no rust, there's no corrosion. You don't come in one day and your water pump is seized and you know, all that kind of stuff. Plus you can work on these.
That too.
I don't know anybody that can touch a 918 or even a McLaren P1, you know.
In fact, I don't think the dealership actually wants you to.
No.
I think they have some pretty strict warnings about that.
Everything now is replaced, not repair.
Right. No, that's the beauty of this. When I had it out in Colorado, there was no shop that could have helped with anything out there. So.
Really, Colorado?
They were about 3 hours away, at least in Denver. So I got a flat a couple times up in the mountains. Had to change it, you know, on the fire roads and stuff.
That's the one good thing about LA. When, you know, no matter what vehicle I look for, I would look all over the world for vehicles, and ultimately I always found them within 50 miles of LA.
Right.
You know, rough Superior motorcycles, Porsche, anything. I mean, it's all right.
I always tell people, if you think a car is rare, go to LA, you'll see two.
Yeah, that's right. Did you change the steering at all, or is it stock?
Stock steering.
It didn't feel like one.
Yeah, exactly.
That was my Carrera. The front end would be shattered.
Yep.
I don't have, yeah, such freedom.
Yep.
I can't believe I'm in a Porsche.
There are those skid plates.
What do you think? Give it a try?
Yep, let's do it.
No problemo, senor. Now this is what a Porsche was built for. Not that stupid going in circle stuff.
There we go.
It's amazing. It doesn't look like the ground clearance is that high, but...
No, we've got 10 inches of ground clearance
Yeah, it
here.
really is. It's unbelievable. This thing is great. I love this.
It's a whole lot of fun.
I gotta do this to my Carrera GT.
I'm sure we can figure out a way.
But you know, that's what's so great. So many of these cars are just breakable, you know?
Yeah. Pretty serious hill there.
Yeah. Well, how much fun is this? A sports car, you can just beat the heck out of this thing. You know, if a regular sports car is sort of sex, this is like rough sex. You know, this thing, I mean, it's so much, because, you know, whenever you drive a Carrera GT or any of these other fancy cars, I scraped something, I hit that bump. This thing is plow into stuff, and that skid pad just takes it. I mean, you could pound on that skid pad all day with a sledgehammer. I don't think you'd dent it. And, you know, like I said, having the normal ground clearance, and this is what I love about Porsche and Corvette. Guys beat them, modify them, race them, hit the wall with them. You know, I see so many cars where guys are afraid to put miles on it, or it's some kind of Italian exotic, and oh, no, don't go here, don't get. This thing is, it's got 80,000 miles on it. It feels like it's tight as a drum, and it's brand new. I really appreciate it. I appreciate Patrick. Thank you for doing the build on this car, and I thank you for helping out Pancreatic Cancer and buying this car, and all the money went for a good cause. And enjoy it, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having us out today.
See you guys next week.
Mm-hmm.